From B-Day Anatomy and Jack and the Beanstalks, this is The Wreck of the Muscular System, a parody video assessing Chapter 6. I am Steve Miller, alongside partners in crime Ben Lawler, Brian Long, and Jack Shofi. And now, from Pope John Paul the Great Catholic High School, this is the Muscular System. The muscles move on from the frontalis sundown, providing stability and movement and heat. The system not lacking is posture to the backing, from the head to the hips and the feet. Muscles come in three kinds, you will be sure to find: skeletal or striated and voluntary. In the heart, cardiac is found and striated around, smooth as visceral and non-voluntary. Endomysium binds every fiber it finds, enclosing muscle fibers within it. Paramysium wraps these and makes fascicles out of these, and epimysium, non-rhyming, surrounds them. The cypherlemma is a membrane with a really drunk name, and the nuclei lie just beneath it. Myofibrils push aside those darn nuclei, the light and the dark bands do stripe it. Myofibrils are just chains with the really stupid names. They're called cyclomeres consequentially. Aligned end to end along the bends, they bend. Light and dark, they get racial branding. The thick filaments are made of myosin, and with ATP make for contraction. The thin ones composed of the protein actin. All these terms are a great big distraction. And now it's time for Wise Words with Ben Lawler, the part of the show when Ben comes out and says some wise words.
Cardiac. Like muscles, except only in the heart. This is only for the heart. This is special muscles just for the heart. And they help the heart pump. Then you have the smooth muscles, which are used in everything but the heart. Other than the heart. The heart gets its own muscles. That's why people like it. Very important.
The next segment features a decent voice, brought to you by Brian Long.
A motor unit is made from one neuron and all of the muscular cells that it stimulates. The nerve fiber, it is said, comes to a head and branches into axon terminals, which forms junctions with the sarcolemma, and they're called neuromuscular junctions. The neurotransmitter is the chemical released when a nerve impulse hits the terminal. How is this at all the tune? Transmission of the nerve impulse to the muscle comes next in the movement. The sodium rushes in and contraction begins, and it cannot be stopped once it's started. Activation by nerves causes myosin to attach and pull filament into the center. The myosin slides by the actin, and this results in contraction. Rhyme. Yes. Graded responses can be produced by changing frequency and number of stimulation for the first and muscle cells for the next gets you the graded responses. Then there's the twitch, the summation, and non-fused tetanus. The last has some relaxation. The fused tetanus is sustained muscle contraction, the relaxation between the contractions.
Keep going.
Muscle contraction requires energy, and there's several ways you can get it. ATP is the main source of energy in aerobic respiration, but with harder exercise the ATP dies out and there's buildup of lactic acid. From a breakdown of glucose and sluggish response, it's called anaerobic glycolysis.
Is that it?
Nope.
No, one more verse.
The 5 golden rules of skeletal muscle activity, they're all cross at least one joint. The bulk of the muscle lies proximal to the joint. It's attached at the origin and insertion. The origin is the less movable of the bones, while the insertion can move quite freely. Muscles only pull, and when they begin, the insertion moves towards the origin.
Hurrah!
And now we'll hear about muscle movements and face muscles from Quarter Jack.
The prime mover causes a particular movement of the muscle. The antagonists oppose or even reverse the movement of the prime mover. These synergists help the glorified prime mover by moving in the same direction. The fixators hold the bone still or stabilize the prime mover. Frontalis starts at the cranial aponeurosis and covers. It connects to the skin of the eyebrow and lets you wrinkle your forehead. The orbicularis oculi is a muscle circling your eye. It allows you to blink and squint and on occasion wink. The orbicularis oris is the muscle surrounding your lips. It allows you to close your mouth and therefore lets you kiss. The buccinators run across your cheek in a horizontal fashion. This muscle helps you to chew your food and even lets you whistle. The zygomaticus extends from the corner of the mouth. It connects to the cheek and allows a person to even smile. The masseter runs from the zygomatic process to the mandible. It covers the angle of the lower jaw and helps you close your mouth. The temporalis, a fan-shaped muscle, overlies the temporal bone. It connects into the mandible and acts as a synergist of the masseter.
And now it's time for Wise Words with Ben Lawler, the part of the show when Ben comes out and says some wise words.
Well, this looks like a little worm thing here. It's the connective tissue components. You have the stridations, the obvious stridations here, very strident. Here's a turkey leg coming out. Here's this little cigarette coming out here. And then you have the churro. You have the churro. And then the turkey leg coming out here with this meat, this wonderful meat, these instant.
First you have pectoralis major and the intercostal muscles. Muscles of the abdominal girdle are divided into 4 sections. Rectus abdominis, external and internal, obliques, and the transversus abdominis. All these tissues described here are the trunk's anterior muscles.
Now, the pectoralis major forms anterior wall and acts to abduct and flex the arm. The intercostal muscles are deep muscles found between the ribs. The internal and external obliques are both used in the breathing process. Muscles of the abdominal girdle are divided into 4 sections, like I said, that protect and contain the abdominal contents. They all flex the vertebral column.
The trapus andulodyssimus and the erector spinae, the quadratus luborum, and the deltoid sum up all the posterior trunk muscles.
Now, the trapus extends the head and stabilizes the scapula. The lastissimus dorsi extends and abducts the humerus. The erector spina spans the whole vertebral column. They provide resistance that helps control the action of bending over at the waist. Quadratus laborum extends the labrum spine. Finally, the deltoid is the prime mover of the arm abduction.
Next we have the upper limb muscles that include the biceps brachii, and the brachialis, and the brachioradialis, and the triceps brachii, all of the forearm.
Now, the biceps support the forearm and flexes the elbow. The brachioradius resides mainly in the forearm and is pretty weak. The brachioradius lifts the ulna as the bicep lifts the radius. The tricep brachii is the prime mover of the elbow extension.
Now, the muscles of the lower limb include the gluteus maximus, and the gluteus medius also includes the iliopsoas. And the abductor muscles are part of the lower limb muscles.
Now, the gluteus maximus is needed when climbing and jumping. The gluteus medius is important for steadying the pelvis during walking. Right here. The iliopsoas is the prime mover of the hip flexor. The abductor muscles press the thighs together. Then
there's the muscles at the knee joint that include the hamstring group. But also, of course, is the Socrates and the quadriceps group as well.
The hamstring group are the prime extenders of the leg and leg and thigh. The sartorius is the weak thigh flexor that is very hard to exercise. The quadriceps group acts as a group to extend the knee powerfully as when kicking.
Now the muscles at the ankle and the foot include the tabelis anterior, also their exterior dorsum longus, and the fibulogastratories, and the soleus. Thus, this is the end of the song.
Now, the tibulus anterior is inversion of the foot. The exterior digitorum longus is the prime mover of the toe extension. Fibulus, which as a whole flexes and inverts the foot. Gastrocnemius is the prime mover for the plantar flexion, and the soleus is the strong plantar flexor of the foot. Thank you.
Flexion, extension, hyperextension.
Hyperextension. Rotation. Lateral rotation. Medial rotation. Abduction.
Circumduction.
Inversion.
Whoa.
Eversion.
Dorsiflexion. Dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. Something. Radius spinning.
Opposition.
And now it's time for Wise Words with Ben Lawler, the part of the show when Ben comes out and says some wise words.
Tentacles coming out. Tentacles. Spinal cord. Yes, and this muscle, and it's attached to like a, I don't know what that is. Corn dog. No, and then there's me and my grandfather.
Okay, wait, say that again.
Me and my grandfather.
Before we conclude, I'll take a moment to recognize that support for our filming was promoted by Zuber Bueller's Sin Removal Service. Big or small, we remove them all. En se habla español. The Wreck of the Muscular System is a production of Jack and the Beanstalks and the Boys Auxiliary Choir, in association with Anatomy and Physiology, Miss Buy Me Some Peanuts and Cracker Jackson, Benevolent Overlord. Gordon Lightfoot wrote The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and Johann Sebastian Bach wrote Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring. Our filming was done by the members of Jack and the Beanstalks with technical support from Miss South Korea and Claire Reach for the Stars. Nutrition was provided by Becky Over the Rainbow and Mr. Carmelo Anthony, as well as whoever brought in the box of Whitman's chocolates on Friday. And muscular direction was provided by Andre Michel. Special thanks to Miss Kingen and the music department for the use of their facilities, Miss Up and Devey for logistical assistance, and the legacy of Steve Jobs for forcing us to refilm everything on a second day. For Ben, I fought the law and the Lawler won, Brian, fourth and long, and Jack, best in Shofi. I am Steve Miller, and we will see you for Chapter 7, The Nervous System Breakdown. So long for just a while.